Okay.
Okay, you ready? Action, take one. A hard-boiled egg. Nana had a picnic hamper. I don't remember exactly the exterior, but the interior was a faded blue textured plastic, tearing in the corners into hanging dog ears, a mass of straps and buckles and elastic restraints, like exquisite torture device for masochistic crockery. It was always empty, and to my certain knowledge, it had never left the house. We were not great outdoorsmen. On infrequent occasions, too infrequent to enumerate, we dined al fresco, on the strict understanding that fresh air gave you an appetite. We would sit on uneven, sloping, bumpy, lumpy, cowpat splattered meadows as close to the gate as was feasibly possible, on a prickling woolen tartan blanket that was worse than the thistles we were vainly trying to smother. Tea, of the beige stewed variety, was gurgitated with little relish. We only had the one plastic cup on the thermos, which came from another thermos altogether, long ago shattered, which didn't fit. We took turns at it, as in distant, furtive corners of the field, small clusters of mud-caked cows whispered conspiratorially to each other, occasionally glancing over their shoulders at us, then bringing their horns together once more to plot revolution. Once, we sat in a bleak row in persistent drizzle on a slanting cast iron bench that remained standing solely due to the triumph of black paint over rust. The world was grey and silent. Somewhere in the mist, strange slabs sloped and jutted. There had been better days to visit the cemetery. I sat at one end, beside a vast mesh metal waste bin, full to the brim with decaying flowers. Nana sat in dark hat and sombre mackintosh, poker upright, and blinked through the film of damp condensing onto the lenses of her butterfly spectacles. At the far end, beside a small metal tank of brown water with a tap sticking out of it, used to rinse and fill urns, sat a dark aunt. I had no idea who she was, but my grandmother, firmly of the opinion that I could remember everyone I had ever met, despite not seeing them since the age of 2, resolutely refused to name her. They'd sauntered along gravel paths with me dawdling along behind, scuffing until told not to. They'd examined gravestones with a professional eye, deposited some lemon yellow daffodils, and sat in silence. The occasional fat drop of water spattered my head from the tree above us. Somewhere, a crow cawed politely, like it was clearing its throat to speak. Entirely unprompted, Nana produced from her cavernous black handbag, with a prestidigitator's flourish, a hard-boiled egg. This she handed to me. I don't know why. It wasn't lunchtime. It wasn't dinner time. A hard-boiled egg in a cemetery hardly counts as afternoon tea. I didn't really know what to do with it. There must have been some etiquette about commencing a hard-boiled egg in a wet Wednesday cemetery. I passed it from hand to hand, toyed with knocking it against my front teeth or my cold, dank knees. Then, finally and firmly, I rapped it thrice against the arm of the metal bench. Each tonk, tonk, tonk rang around the graveyard like the door knocker on the gates of heaven. The aunt roused herself and susurrated. "Shh! Have some respect!" Then hauled a bed-sized handkerchief out of the folds of her ample person and buried her face in it, snuffling like a horse eating oats out of a nosebag. Nana Rose gathered herself together, declaimed to the cemetery at large that they should have told him, though she didn't mention what. Then, having hauled the aunt upright, they set off towards the cemetery gates, with me dragging and lagging in the rear, scattering pale brown eggshell along the wet grey gravel. We never picnicked again. Thank you for